Have you ever dragged yourself out of bed every morning, feeling completely worn out and exhausted?
Have you ever snapped and say something hurtful in a sudden burst of emotions, only to feel deep regrets the moments the words came out?
If you answered yes, welcome to being a teenager. But here's the twist: we're not broken versions of adults, we're an operating system, and we live in a constant transition mode between childhood and adulthood.
Humanity has evolved for millions of years. And yet, if you look closely to our generation, the 14 years olds, you notice a number of conspicuous bugs.
Bug number one: our sleep. Research from sleep science tells us that during puberty, the body's circadian rhythm shifts. Melatonin, the hormone that signals sleep, is released approximately 2 hours later in adolescence than in children or adults, according to Dr. Sophie Bostock. The Bloomfield Post even said that asking teens to start school before 8:30 a.m. is the same as asking adults to start work at 4:30.
Well, then what are the consequences?
The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention and the American Academy of Pediatrics have stated that early school starts are associated with increased health risks of obesity, depression, drug use, and even poor academic performance. In other words, when we seem unfocused or irritable, maybe it simply means that our schedules are way too stressful.
Bug number two, our emotions. Or more precisely, the gap between feeling an emotions and regulating it. From my own experience as a teenager, I often feel strong. Sudden feelings rush over me in daily life. I get irritated easily and react on impulse without stopping and think first. I always act on my raw emotions before I can calm down and control my words. Let me give you real examples. Last month, my friends asked me a simple question: did you finish your math homework? And for no reason at all, I snap at her. Just mind your own business. I feel terrible before I even finish that sentence. This just shows that the part of the brain that feels emotions is quite developed, but the part that manage is still improving. This is because the wiring of pausing and reflecting is still being built.
Bug number three: social sensitivity. During adolescence, we're thought to undergo a process called social reorientation, which makes us particularly sensitive to peer input.
So that explains why teens are incredibly sensitive to their friends' influence and why friendship feels both incredibly meaningful and incredibly fragile. After cataloging these bugs, we ask ourselves, why is being 14 so difficult? The answer, we believe, is that we're in an unopened state. An adolescent brain is not a broken adult brain. It is a brain optimized for learning, exploration, and the social connection. The bugs we experience are not sign of failure. They're features of systems in transition.
So, what can you do?
First, although we can't change the school times, but you can still control your patience. Second, when we snap, give us 5 minutes to cool down before you lecture us. Third, instead of saying, what's wrong with you? Start asking, what happened? Fourth, learn to respect our friendship. We're full of bugs, but we're trying to upgrade. And upgrading means constant crashes, restarts, and the occasional blue screen. One day, the driver will install. The operating systems will stabilize. But in the meantime, the most useful thing you can do is not to fix us,
But to remember what it was like when you were still figuring out who you were.
because you made it through.
And so will we. I'm Jasmine Lowe.
I'm Caitlin Lee.
Thank you
You
very
very much.